Hey, folks, thanks for stopping by Kaiser's Castle. You've stopped by and you've dropped by, so we'll just call that dropping by. Glad you guys are here. Today, Baz is here. Now, this is May 20th, okay? And on May 4th of this year, people who aren't from Ohio will have forgotten about it, but an abortion of bullshit happened, and these idiots, Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, made the song Ohio. And having had the privilege to serve with several National Guardsmen at the end, you know, of their service and the beginning of mine, really, I just wanted to give you a bit of the story that I got told. But if you forgot that song, I'll play you a couple of bars. Yeah, that song. Now you guys know which one. Yeah, here's what happened. Kent State on May 4th, 1970. A bunch of students, communist protesters. Well, here's the problem. Classes were also being dismissed. So you had normal students intermingling with them. Even an ROTC major, from what I remember, had gotten himself shot by the National Guardsmen. But you have to remember the times. It was the times of the students, uh, Democratic, Socialist. You had the Weather Underground. You had all these different factions. And what they failed to realize is when the guards started to open fire, as they were starting to openly trying to burn down the ROTC building. And in my judgment, and the courts held that, the guardsmen, pretty much didn't really get in too much crap over it if you look back. So it was held justifiable. They were, in a sense, in a state of fear, and they had to handle business. But like I said, uh, that's sort of what went on back then. And Baz and I are going to cover a little bit of what's going on today, and especially today on May 20th, or yeah, on May 20th, they're having a thing at your guys' parliament. Is that not right, Baz?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah. How's it going, brother? You all good?
Outstanding, brother. Outstanding. Always good to hear you, bro.
Cheers, thank you. Yeah. So there's been a debate today in the House of Commons, and it's not a big parliamentary debate. It's just sort of a few chosen MPs, former defence ministers, and stuff like that, and a lot of veterans of many operations from Rhodesia through to Afghanistan, including Northern Ireland, Iraq, Bosnia, and all the operations we've been on since sort of the 1960s, the late 60s, right through till present day. And it's about the debating about a new law for to bring in immunity for veterans that have served on operations, to basically immunity against prosecution. Because if you're not aware, some of the listeners, I know you're aware, Shuff, because we've spoke of this at length. There's several veterans of the Northern Ireland campaign, or the operation, the conflict, the troubles, whatever you want to call them, being investigated again. This is like the third of off time. These veterans, most of them in the 70s or 80s, are being investigated for things that happened, back in the early 70s. And it's only sort of recently that there's been so much sort of uproar, um, that's actually sort of raised a few hairs on the back of people's necks, especially the veterans that are actually as members of parliament or hold sway with parliament, that are speakers, advisors, and all that good stuff. And I was sitting down and going, look, you sent us to fucking war. You gave us these rules of engagement. We didn't dream these fucking things up ourselves. You've given us these rules of engagement. We've gone by these. And you know yourself, and those who have acted within rules of engagement, they are just a very fucking black and white guidance. It's a one small card,
Yeah, it's
the
supposed
size
to
of
be
your,
just
yeah,
guidance. You're right.
yeah. It's the size of your palm. You know what I mean? Like, it depends where you've served, what they're going to call it. Like, there used to be card alpha, card 749, and stuff like that. different rules of engagement for different operations and different missions. But as long as you go by those cards and you can interpret those cards how you wish, you know what I mean? As long as you can defend that, then it's good. So they're being called in question 30, 40 years later about things that they've done. And it's only now that this sort of immunity is being brought into the Houses of Parliament where they're going to debate on this, whether they're going to make it law or not. And like you say, you look at the Kent State, and it's a good distraction as well. You know, we said this earlier from fuckery that's going on in the well, so not say the real world, but with like for us, it's a Brexit fuck about. You know what I mean? And now that's just going absolutely fucking down the pan. It's a good distraction, you know what I mean? And it's also to appease, and it's tied into this Brexit shit, is because the Irish are crying. When I say the Irish, I mean like the Sinn Féin, which is obviously
Right.
the parliamentary wing of the Republican movement, the IRA. It's to appease those fucking creatures, you know, and it's to get the shit away, they take the heat away from those in power to see how much the fucking, you know what I mean, Brexit up. Which takes me back on to obviously to the Kent State. It's good that these guys haven't been hounded all these years later for things that they carried out. And what you've got to remember is Kent State rings a lot like the Bloody Sunday incident. You've got albeit the Bloody Sunday incident was carried out by regular soldiers, full-time soldiers, you know, and paratroopers.
Right.
But these guys are bred for warfare. You know what I mean? You're putting paratroopers in front of rioters. The job of an infantryman, paratrooper, marine, is to fucking close with and destroy the enemy through close quarter battle. You know what I mean? Then you say, right, you're going to be sort of a quasi police slash soldier operating in the UK to quell rioters. You know what I mean? But then these rioters are being backed up by the IRA, and the shots being fired, and then what happens is fucking bloody Sunday. People die, but it's those actions, those click at the moment actions, nanosecond decisions. Where you've got an 18-year-old paratrooper scared for his life, making decisions that are being fucking called into question 40 years down the line, you know. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that, mate?
No, I agree with you in some aspects about youth and the. Tell me if I'm running too close to the mic. About youth in the guard, or what you guys call your territorials.
Yeah,
But here's the thing: is the guard is so diverse, National Guard units, that you can always find older gentlemen with a little more seasoning. Plus, there may be a large portion of them that actually are police, firefighters,
yeah,
EMTs, public servants.
yeah,
And so I think, at least in Ohio, they really refined it. We had a flooding incident where we were paired up with Cincinnati police at one time. We all got mobilized for that, several of us. And so what we ended up doing was just walking around with a actual Cincinnati police officer and, helping him out. Basically, we were his bitch.
yeah,
And that's honestly, but if you have a major incident, you can always put. Here's the thing about the youth, and we talk about this a lot on the ability to keep your finger off the trigger, and what I mean by that is, after our lives, how long we've been doing this crap, a lot of decisions can be made a lot more clearer as long as you're observing everything. You calm the OTA loop down, orient, observe, orient, decide, and act. That's the OTA
yeah,
loop. And yeah, I know I screwed it up starting with the second O, but I always forget observe. But just because I orient everything automatically, which is me observing too. I sort of combine them, so I just always blow through it. But as long as you're observing and with a little bit of maturity and experience, that's why most SF troopers, they're not fresh out of boot camp and basic. They've gotten through a lot of schools, they've gone through a lot of training, and before they're even hitting a team. And so that's why they're a little more seasoned and better troops, but they still have their first time in combat.
mm,
And we've discussed that ad infinitum, I think. But yeah, I'm in total agreement that, yeah, no soldier, if they didn't get you in combat. We had this problem here in America. Obama tried to go after people for war crimes in Afghanistan and Iraq, and they even did it with Blackwater, if you remember that one correctly.
Yeah, yeah,
But that was really more to get at the owner of Blackwater.
yeah.
That was all political move, and
Yeah.
also they wanted to give it to, if I remember right, didn't Armor Group pick it up when Blackwater got it dropped, right?
Yeah, I think they did. Yeah, yeah. I know. Eric Prince was a strong Republican, wasn't he? And
Yep.
he was a big funder of the Republican sort of like movement. Yeah, so it was just a fucking a Democratic left wing witch hunt. You know what I mean? And
Well, it was also sheep dipped. I mean, years ago into our certain unfavorite three letter agency of the U.S. But yeah, yeah,
yeah, I mean, oh yeah, because he was doing a lot of contracts for them. And he was sort of like, I mean, I've read his book. I've listened to the audio book, and there's a lot of sort of additional stuff that he adds there where he can't obviously mention who he works for, but I think it's pretty clear that you've got to be some special kind of stupid if you know he's not talking about the CIA. I know the CIA sort of tendered him for contracts and then just completely fucking hung him out to dry. It was just basically it was sort of again a semi-deniable operation. They used him until there was no longer any use, and the political heat was too much for him. So they sort of deflected that slopey shoulder sort of thing. It wasn't
right.
us. It wasn't us. It was fucking him, and they were happy to hang him up to dry, and that's why obviously. And he chose his words carefully because obviously he's still got his finger in the what was Blackwater, then you know what I mean, and then Academy and all that good stuff.
Right.
Although he sold it on, you know what I mean, but he's still got fingers in pies in that sort of realm, so he has to be careful of what he says.
Oh
But
yeah.
for those that know, it's pretty straightforward and it's pretty simple. That you know what I mean, he's very wary about doing business with that three-letter organization because of just the way that they fucking hung him out to dry. So
Oh yeah.
it's not just like singular individuals. You know what I mean? It's they can tar an entire I won't say industry, but certainly an entire corporation, an organization with that. Um, but with that, an organization has the monetary means and the legal means to put hundreds of thousands of dollars and thousands of man hours behind the defence case of this, where if it's a single person, be it one of the Kent State troopers or whether it's Soldier F over here, the one of the paratroopers, they haven't got infinite amount of resources to defend. I mean, Soldier F's quite lucky that the MOD are actually picking up his fucking legal tab because I think that's the least that they can do.
Hell
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Because he was their employer at the end of the day. And the fact that he's gone through so many of these investigations that he's been fucking dragged in front of a court. Now, you know, yeah, it fucking pisses me off, mate, because like we've said before, again at length, that this stuff here, well publicised, is going to not just drive young people, and this is on both sides of the pond, it's not only going to drive people away from our armed forces, it's going to breed a trigger shy generation of warfighters. Like you said there, the guys on teams and the guys in the you know what I mean, the special projects teams, the combat application groups and advanced effect groups, whatever you want to call them, special forces. Like I say, by the time they go down range, they've already had probably some experience of operations, millions of dollars, struck pounds pumped into them, thousands and thousands of man hours of training. You know what I mean? Where your average soldier hasn't got that. When I say average soldier, I'm talking everything from infantryman to military policeman to marine to you know what I mean, to your average gunner, to your average non-combat armed soldier. It's gonna breed a generation of trigger shy soldiers where they're going to be always thinking, in 30 years, am I going to get fucked over for what I'm just about to do? And therefore, people are going to die. Our people are going to die.
Uselessly, yeah.
Yeah, an innocent's going to die. So hopefully, this debate that they've had today is sort of like the first stepping stone in gaining immunity for those serving on operations. If they're serving on operations, they're conducting themselves within the rules of engagement, that they should be inapproachable. You know what I mean? Any lawyer walks up, he should be told flat out, fuck off. You know what I mean? This guy did this, all within the rules of engagement. The investigation, the after action investigation, it's been a good shoot. It's been, you know what I mean? That action was justified. So hopefully we get that. I mean, I don't know whether you guys have already got that on your side of the pond. Can you clarify?
On what exactly did you want clarification? What point, part
Uh,
of that point?
uh, I know. Obviously, when it comes down to immunity, I know there's the Navy SEAL just being sort of dragged through the courts for stabbing that ISIS dude. But whether you've got any immunity within your rules of engagement, if you know what I mean, if your guys are, can you guys be chased through the courts for acting within the rules of engagement?
Well, now here's the sticky wicket to that. Just like that one, he's either a captain or a major. I can't remember which. So I don't want to lie about it. But he was an SF trooper and knew this one cop was completely, and we're talking an Afghani cop. Um, I'm getting a little feedback, bro. They knew
Is that better?
he liked to diddle. Yeah, perfect. They knew he liked to diddle boys, right? So I guess he almost raped some boy, bloody or something, and the mother brings him over to for medical treatment, and this SF officer went over there and basically almost killed this dude, beating the hell out of him. Which I don't care about that. You don't care about that. That's what I think the guy probably deserved. Would I have done it? I don't know. Every situation's so dependent upon a lot of things, and so I can't second guess that guy, and I don't like that. The second guessing, you act within a second or two of your decision,
Judgment,
yeah,
yeah,
of an
judgment.
instant, and then they got the rest of your life to go back over it and try to figure it out, right, and second guess you. So, yeah, I think that's it can be done, but there is a certain bit of an indemnity that you do have against prosecution as long as you don't violate strictly the laws of land warfare. But I don't know about your country, but I'll give you an example. In our country, I used to have to help teach the laws of land warfare, and one of them says you can't cause unnecessary suffering to another person in the battle, i.e., file down your bullets,
Mm.
different things like that. Slash somebody instead of poke them in the heart. Different stupid crap, right?
Yeah, the law of armed conflict.
Yeah, yeah, law of land warfare. And so what what ended up is a lot of these dudes that don't know what they're talking about, they'll say, well, you can't engage a troop with a 50 cal, but you can engage his equipment, his gear on his body. That's incorrect because a 50 cal, when it takes your head off, there's nothing else that's going to send you to death faster. You're going to bleed out from, and just like ball ammunition instead of, RSF use non-conventional ammunition. You know what I'm talking about. We're
Yeah.
talking about expansive rounds. That's a fact, but they say ball ammunition's the only ammo you can use. It doesn't cause excessive suffering. No, it'll just cause him to bleed out a lot slower. So a lot of that stuff needs revisited. And you are exactly correct on that. On this one point, you and I have no disagreement on this at all. Well, on everything actually we've talked about. I guess I'm just throwing my 2 cents in on it. But the one thing that always blows me away is when, just like you said, those troops should not have to even worry about this, and that's even our enemies, because that will cause everybody to second guess themselves. Now, when I said even our enemies don't give a shit about the law of land warfare in the modern age, and you know this to be true as I do. And you think they're following the laws of land warfare when they're deciding they're gonna, you know, hang,
Decapitate some motherfucker.
yeah, or cut out their heart and eat it. I mean, it's happened. These things have happened. Oh, were they prosecuted? I don't think so. Were they thrown in front of the Hague? Oh no, they'd be racist. So that it's just the more honesty of our day and age, and everybody wants fills, and just like you said, distraction. You guys have the Brexit thing happening. You have the people who are running for elections right now,
Yeah.
and of course Argon of Cod, Tommy, and the guy who with the pug who does Roman salutes, Count Dankula. Those guys running, and they're probably going to end up winning. In all honesty, I think all three of them stand a good chance, and I mean that because everybody's fed up with it, and I think that's in the West. Period. But yeah, go on with what we were regularly talking about. Get your opinion on the little nuggets I threw out.
Yeah, just like what you said there, people are actually fucking sick of the norm. You know what I mean? Like, you obviously over there, the US got sick of the norm, and that's why Trump became president because there were so many people going, he's not going to become president, this fucking orange fool, and you know what I mean? The people were laughing. You know what I mean? It was like everybody from Obama downwards. I mean, you look at the skit he did on SNL where he goes, um, when Donald at real Donald Trump turned around, he went, Obama will be the worst, will go down as the worst president, and he went, but at least I will go down as president. Then dropped the mic as if he was fucking clever. Who's clever
Right.
now? Because your 45th president of the United States is the most powerful man in the world. Is fucking Donald Trump. You know what I mean? And you look at the meltdown that people had over that. People screaming in the streets, people
It
crying
was
on mainstream media,
glorious.
and it was glorious. Even as someone who has no say or no, I'm not going to say no interest, but no sort of like no skin in the US politics game as myself. It was just good to see somebody who was just a complete fucking outsider come in and just upset the apple cart. You know, all these people going, he'll never be president. He'll never be president. Oops, he's fucking president. You know, and it was really good to see that the people again, like I say, it says we the people, and that just proves that the fact that people have if you come together, can fucking enact change. And obviously, it's enact change now. No matter whether those out there agree with Trump, whether they disagree with Trump, I think he's good. He's good for America. He's very patriotic, no matter what people think. He's always got the best of the nation in heart. And even though he does fucking say stupid shit on Twitter, you know what I mean.
Oh
But
yeah.
you know what I mean? There is pros and cons to Donald Trump being the fucking president of the United States.
He's also
But
given some leadership, I think, globally to the West and having them back their spines up a little bit. And it's
yeah,
causing,
definitely,
yeah.
as if to say, look, we don't want to be world policemen. You know what I mean? We're not in this game to fucking police the globe. Start booking up your ideas and start paying your own fucking way, which is good to a certain extent. I'm getting some feedback off you, brother. There.
I don't know why I muted, man. Still
Okay.
going on?
Yeah, so it's good to see, and it's also he's taking that strong stance of going, look, you fucking hate us. Why are we giving you foreign aid? I tell you what, you can hate us for fucking free, which is good. But I'm digressing. So change is good. Tommy Robinson, will I think he'll get into power? No, I don't, because he's too hated, and he's got too much of a tarnished background. But saying that, the Brexit Party, which is led by Nigel Farage, obviously of UKIP fame and all that good stuff, who's also seen as, in quotation marks, a fucking white supremacist or along those lines. The Brexit Party is sort of leading the polls at the minute, with Labour and Conservative fucking lagging well behind. I think Labour and Conservative are in fourth and fifth places, respectively. So people are looking and going, what's going wrong?
I,
Or in certain cases, what's going right? You know what I mean? These major parties are going because of their you know what I mean? There's massive division between them over Brexit. There's people actually just going, look, just make your fucking minds up. We're just going to go down this route. So it is as enacted change. So that's my 2 cents on that. When it comes to like something you said earlier, brother, that nanosecond of judgment and stuff like that. From what I'm going to do now, am I going to be called into judgment down the line? And I think what one of the on the debate today, It was actually a lawyer who stood up, who actually very eloquently sort of like defended his trade as a lawyer, where they've got quite a bad rap. And he was sort of in favour of immunity for armed forces carried out operations within the laws of engagement or the laws of armed conflict and stuff like that. And he said soldiers are bred and should engage in warfare, not lawfare 40 years down the line. Why are they
Right.
fighting that battle? You know what I mean? So it's like a good tag: warfare, not lawfare. You know what I mean? That's what we should be engaging in. We shouldn't have to be worrying about lawfare down the line, having to fight our fucking own cases because somebody who might not have even been born in the generation or even been born when we squeezed the trigger, carried out these actions, sitting with the G&T going, I'm going to prosecute this fucker. I've got a case here. I'm going to make a name for myself. You know, let's say the people who make these laws are Congress, members of Parliament, you know what I mean, our governments. And therefore, they need to make a law. They send us to war. When we come back, they need to defend us. We've done the defending now. They now need to defend us. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's a strong point, you know. Um, yeah, so that's my 2 cents on that, mate. That's my 2 cents on that.
No, I totally get you, man. One thing that really drives me batshit crazy is when I start thinking about these things, certain things really grate my soul. One of them is I was alive very young in 1970, and I remember the whole shebang on TV. You know, when we had three, not including PBS, which is sort of our state run, almost like your one, well, all your BBC state run, but it's done through donations, quote unquote, from the government and other sources, independent sources, called PBS, Public Broadcasting Service.
Yeah.
And but when I was young, it was pretty much kids stuff and other, you know, like educational kind of TV kind of thing, and some fun stuff like what do you guys have? Faulty Towers back then, and
Yeah.
Are You Being Served? Those kind of shows.
Yeah, all the old comedy shows.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
there's no way that they could be shown nowadays because they're not politically correct and somebody gets sand in the cunt. But yeah, the old classics.
Yeah, the classics that were really funny.
Yeah,
What was it? Thank You, Prime Minister, or something like that.
something like thank you, yeah,
Yeah,
thank you, minister, or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah,
But anyway, so I guess we're going down a rabbit hole we don't want to go down right now because it's sort of irrelevant. But the point being is, you know, I'm 50 something, right? And you're whatever age you are.
in the
And
40s.
okay, and you think about the people in the 70s, they were if they were 18, they're 68 or 70 years old.
Mm,
And you know, 18, 20-year olds. And you look at who were in power under Obama. Those same 68, 70-year olds. That's what happened because of us allowing academia to be taken over by the left. And it really irritates me when I hear the term conservative, I really despise, and I'm going to tell you why. Uh, over here in America, I don't know about in your country, but over here in America, the conservatives have not conserved a fucking thing. Okay?
yeah, exactly the same.
Okay. So we
Their
have,
own wealth, their own wealth is the other thing that they've conserved.
yes, they've conserved their wealth as well as the Democrats, who used to be the party of the working man. Guess
Yeah,
what? They now are more wealthy than your quote unquote conservative. You know, you always had the outliers like Kennedy, like oh, what was her name? Pelosi, because of her dad's mafia ties, literal mafia ties. And oh, here's a nice one. You guys can look this one up. I'm not going to put the picture on my page, but Nancy Pelosi was actually like Miss Chevrolet in the 50s. She had a rack on her, dude. You look at her, you're like, damn. Well, yeah, she's a, you know, mafia princess. So, with that being said, yeah, she was on some calendar or something. You can find the picture if you're interested. But you know, you need eyeball bleach for her over today. But back then, you know, she was probably considered a dish. But my point, the greater point is these idiots have run roughshod, and the Republicans might have been some Republicans and even some Democrats. I will tell you this. I've said this before. I don't know if I've said it with you or not, but there was an Ohio congressman, James Traficant, who used to rail against Bill Clinton. I mean, he'd get on the House floor daily. They finally got him on some bullshit, put him away in the penitentiary, and he ran for Congress again when he got out. Then his tractor accidentally overflipped on him and killed him, on his farm
Yeah.
back home.
Yeah.
So, accidents happen, right?
Yeah.
But my point being
is that accident in quotation marks, is it?
Yeah, that's my gathering of it. He flipped his own tractor, whatever. I'd have to really see everything on that to believe it, but I don't even have that much interest in it, honestly. But my point being is, you did have some Republicans that actually did try to stop him, but in the end, without the entire party, and Trump's learning this now, without the entire party standing behind you, you're not going to get anything done. And that's why the last election cycle you saw so many Democrats get elected, is because Republicans stayed home. But I think with Trump running this time, you're going to have a massive swelling at the polls of Republicans that are sick of being called. Look, when everybody's a Nazi, nobody's a Nazi. That's just a fact. And pardon me on that. I had a little bit of lung butter I had to pull up. But oh, yum, right? No, but my point being, brah, is that they just become nothing more than a speed bump. And I used to make a saying where I'd say Democrats want to run to communism and Republicans want to slow walk to socialism. And that really was because of the academia, the way you remember college. I remember going through it. And all your profs, man, all your professors, they always wanted to indoctrinate you in your thought process. And then when you actually talk to them and they realize, shit, I haven't seen what this dude saw. I never really had it affect my grade, but I know some people that did. And so that's also a weaponized thing, school. Everything's become weaponized, from politics to school to lawfare. Yeah, legal system in America is shit too, man. But media, that's weaponized. Propaganda, black and white propaganda. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. It's rampant, and you can see it daily. That's probably why we do our little show and talk about the real stuff we do, just because, look, it's our perspective. Neither one of us are going to say we're perfectly correct. I've made mistakes, and I lead with them when I've been wrong. Everybody on my page knows that. There was one a few weeks back that I misquoted and said something. But if I'm telling you, at least you're getting it. There's no script in front of me. Is there one in front of you, Baz? We're just having normal conversations we always have, right?
Yeah, certainly.
Okay, now look at page 11. No. But,
no. What page?
Oh, shit, my bad. No, but, no, I mean, it all runs together. And just like, whistleblowers are, well, anyways, we've had this discussion before. I don't want to kick that one too hard. Just different things, man. I mean, all we can do is try to give you the best thoughts that we have on something so that you actually have a perspective that maybe you don't have. And you're very welcome to disagree with anybody on my page, especially me. Because if everybody agreed, shit, nobody would learn anything. And that's just my way of thinking.
But like you said there, brother, it's getting that way now. You look where people are afraid to speak out against stuff. You know what I mean? Because they're afraid to offend anybody or anything like that. So disagree with people is seen as dangerous nowadays. Especially in not so much politics, but in society, on social media. If you say something that I wouldn't say offends, but goes against the grain of, this certain group's sort of manifesto, it's automatically labelled as you're pigeonholed into you're a fucking Nazi or you're a white supremacist or you're right wing or you're conservative or you're a left wing, you're a soy boy, you're a fucking hipster, whatever. You know what I mean? It's no one can sit down anymore and just have a conversation and just say, look, you don't need to know which side of the fence I sit on, but I'm just telling you this. These are the facts, or this is my opinion. You know, without being shouted down. And again, like you said there, mainstream media is a fucking weapon nowadays. It's like we had this little chat just before the show. This debate that's actually just finished now about the immunity of our armed forces in the UK wasn't covered by the BBC. The BBC, let's be honest, is the biggest sort of mainstream media on the planet. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And it's British, and the well-being of our veterans isn't even being covered by the British Broadcasting Corporation. On Facebook, mainstream media, it has been covered extensively by RT, which is a Russian mainstream media. Now, you're trying to tell me that it's only the Russians that give a flying fuck about British armed service veterans? You know what I mean? Because it's not the British
Right.
Broadcasting Corporation. It's the fucking biased Broadcasting Corporation because they don't want to cover it in the event that they upset the political masters. And you'll see this. Obviously, you've seen it on my Facebook post, mate. I rant extensively today about this. That the BBC won't touch this because it's going to upset the political masters. You know what I mean? And again,
Right.
that big fucking dichotomy, mate. You know what I mean? It's a big fucking vicious circle. They're all in each other's pockets, and they'll only cover what they want to cover. You know, and again, it's to appease the left. It's to appease the powers that be. It's to keep things under wraps. We don't want to upset anything because we want to cover it the way we want to cover it. We don't want to give the other side their chance to highlight their arguments and their points. You know, it's fucking bullshit, mate. And it's only the again, well, I'm going to use what the young ones use nowadays. It's only the woke motherfuckers that can see it going on. I class myself as woke. I would class you as woke. We see what we see behind the curtain of bullshit. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not being questioned. It's not me. I've put it out on Facebook, and a lot of my friends are there sharing it. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And they're going, "What the fuck's going on here? Why is this not being covered?" I'm just like, "Wake up, mate! It's because they don't want to cover it." And so I'm trying to sort of fucking get my circle, you know what I mean, to realise what the fuck's going on because they are all as fucking all as again woke as we are, mate. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Well,
It,
with
and
what
it's
you're
up to us to
saying,
do that.
yeah, with what you're saying, there's a great little jingle theme song I'm going to play. Hopefully, it tickles your fancy like it did mine. And it's just a couple seconds long, but it explains the media perfectly.
Done for everyone, and now it's plain to see. You are a cunt, 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 cunt. Big fat stinking cunt. Said and true, but me tell you, you motherfucking cunt. You are.
Yeah, see that? They are a cunt, 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 cunt. A big fat spinking cunt.
It's true. It's
Yep,
true.
it is true. A motherfucking cunt. But no, so there we go. I mean, that's that jingle I found today, and I was like, how am I going to use that? And you just gave me the opening. Right to the media. They are a cunt, cunt,
Cunt.
cunt, cunt. A big fat stinking cunt. Anyways, so I think we should. There's a good segue on the media, too. This whole hype about Trump. I was on Big Sarge's show this last week. He's been on my channel before. A lot of people of you guys know him. Sarge show. It's on Redcon One Media. I believe it was Saturday evening, Friday or Saturday. I think Friday was the drunk fest where we just bullshitting with Sarge, Big Sarge, and Saturday it was Saturday evening, and last Saturday. So here's what ended up being a panel, and honestly, a panel is a hard thing to deep dive into subject matter because you get a lot of people throwing opinion, and also the questions sometimes are opinion oriented, right? Whereas that I hate opinion. I try not to do it. I mean, I will give my own opinion when I say it's my opinion, just like me and you talking about. We talk about the facts of the rules of land warfare, okay? The rules of land combat for you guys in England. Those are facts. my opinion, just like talking about that major, I have to say, would I have done, or that captain or major, would I have done the same thing? I don't know. It's all situational dependent. So I can't give a clear fact of what I would have done. I can give my opinion on what I would have done, but really in the end, it matters not what I would have done. It matters what the facts were for him, and it was unjustly done to him. And it was lawfare that was pursued upon him. But with the entire Iran thing, the media was pushing this stuff. And they've done it 3 times. We're almost going to war because of Trump. He's stupid. You know. And every time it's come back and eaten their ass. And they still haven't learned. Trump's the most prolific and epic troll in modern history. On the internet, that's why I don't mind his post on Twitter, honestly. He's trolling the fuck out of the media, and he gets free FaceTime. You know, during the election cycle. It wasn't news if it didn't have Trump in it 24/7. And the media just, they're so fucking horny for all these manufactured crises and problems. Because, you know, if it bleeds, it leads. And anyway, so this whole Iran thing, you know, yeah, you can take certain things seriously or whatnot. But in the end, you know, the Iranian Republican Guard Corps, you know, they have their air wing, they have their naval wing, and their ground wing. And they're the ones who are responsible for keeping the mullahs in power. Then you actually have the Iranian armed forces. So who do you think about the actual Iranian armed forces? You know how small the Republican Guard Corps is, you know, anyways, the IRGC.
Yeah, the Quds.
Yeah. And they're not very large. It'd be like the Marine Corps going up against the United States Army. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not that large. The problem becomes the Quds force. And this is the thing I couldn't get out on his show because there's just not enough time. And I understand it. When you have a panel, a major panel, that's one thing that's a problem. Everybody's got opinions and views. And you have to be respectful of it. But you don't have time to go in depth. And the Quds Force was something me and you had to talk offline. I don't think we did it on the program, but it's very true. When the EFPs started in Iraq in the beginning, you remember when the EFPs first showed up, the explosively fired projectiles, you know, they'll slice right through armor like butter, and you know this. And the problem with that was they were being manufactured from 2 places, Iran or IRA technicians, you know, Irish Republican Army, technicians making money for the IRA political, Sean Fain, and their own dollar bills to keep their own forces up because the Irish do have their own little armed forces in the IRA, correct?
Correct.
So that money's got to flow from somewhere besides drugs, which is probably what they're into too. All terrorism always has drugs in it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But my point being is those 2 things are the reason why we took so many casualties. And one guy's like, I'm paraphrasing, so when you guys listen to it, you'll hear him, and I'm paraphrasing because I'm not dismissing his comment. It's a good view if, you know, you haven't been there for a long time and seen a lot of this stuff. His view was like, well, we'd crush them and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, they're a geopolitical, in a region, geopolitical force.
Regional power.
Yeah. And, but they don't understand that he was like, well, Iran's just a regional power for Russia. It's not, it is, how did he put it? It is a proxy of Russia, which is untrue, but they do have close ties because they share a common border. And people forget that Lend-Lease was not just weapons going to England. Lend-Lease also the Soviet Union. We had a Tehran to Russia railroad that the Americans put up. I've got a book on it. And that was how we supplied Lend-Lease. There are pictures, you can find videos too, of B-17s with Russian stars on them, and also some of our early armor before the Ural Mountains were kicking up on the battlefield too. It was our legitimate armor that Russians were using. And you guys got some of that kit too, and actually improved on a lot of it. Weren't the swim tanks your guys' invention or something?
Yeah, amphibious tanks.
Yep. So just like that, I mean, things change and stuff, but people forget. Anyway, so just like in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, we can name every country out there except for some of the Arab countries. That's where the problem lies. The staunch Arab countries, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, which UAE is where Eric Prince is now based out of. He's defending them. That's their armed forces now, pretty much.
Yeah.
Is his boys. And so it just boggles the mind. I'm like, no, they are a regional geopolitical power, and they have proxies that will cause in Iraq and in Afghanistan. The only way that war would work, Bush had it laid out to work if it would have been done correctly, and he would have been able to hit it hard and fast, but he wasn't. You have to take Afghanistan, that landlocked country, to the one side, and you have to have Iraq, and you have to move in a hammer and anvil towards each other from both those countries to go through Iraq or Iran to make any kind of working. And you also have to have, and we did have this under Obama, the Iranian Green Movement. Their Green Movement was anti-Islam. And it got put down because Obama did not help them. And that was also a backstab by the CIA, too, in my opinion. And that is where I just said, that's my opinion, that the CIA backstabbed them. If anybody can prove me wrong, prove me wrong. I doubt you can. But we didn't lift one fucking finger to help those protesters as they were being killed. We didn't get them out of the country. We didn't try to fund them. But what did we do for the Arab Spring? That fucking incestuous thing that made Islam and the worst parts of it spread like a fucking cancer and caused us to lose Libya and any control we ever had over Africa. One thing that is true, Gaddafi said, if you ever topple me, every European country will be inundated with Africans. And he didn't lie. Your thoughts?
Yeah, all you've got to do is look at sort of the sort of Spain and France, and it's just they're just hitting their shores. Not just that, just Italy as well. You know what I mean? They're hitting their shores, just fucking boatloads of fighting age males. You know what I mean? And once they're in, they disappear. You know what I mean? These people aren't stupid. There is your legit, you know what I mean, refugees, but then you've got people there for nefarious means, deeds, and affairs. You know,
right? Undermining your system.
Yeah. But going back to what you said about Iran, like I said, it's those ignorant ones that can have the bravado. Yeah, we'll steamroll them. This is not Iraq. You know what I mean? This isn't Libya. The Iranians are, like I say, a regional power. They are fucking. You know what I mean? They've got their own navy, albeit it might not be as successful. And let's be honest, no one. You put Iran against the States alone, the States is gonna come out the victor. But what we need to remember is it's all this bravado is usually done by those who've done a bit of service, maybe gone to Afghanistan and come back alive, or Iraq and come back alive, who have no skin in the game, that have got this bravado. Those that aren't so fucking ignorant can look at it and go, we're taking on a regional power now. There's going to be a lot more flag draped coffins coming back to the States and to the UK if we get involved as well. You know what I mean? It's not going to be on the realms of Afghanistan. You could fucking 10 times that because they have a standing army. They are the regional leaders in fucking insurgency warfare. You know what I mean? It's fucking ignorant to think that we're just going to steamroll through them like we did with Iraq. You know what I mean?
The
What we need to remember is Iraq were already smashed. Iraq hadn't even got back from the first Gulf War.
right.
You know, Iran have never been invaded by the West. You know what I mean? In the past couple of 100 years, so they're just biding their time. It's not going to be some rolling armored through the streets and 24 hours later we're flying the US flag in Tehran. It's not going to fucking happen that way. Let's be honest. They have got chemical weapons. They have got, to be all inherent purposes, they've got weapons of mass destruction that these mullahs won't give a fucking second thought about launching. They're looking to launch these sorry, not nuclear weapons, but these weapons. You know,
Right.
and you don't think that they've already got sleeper cells in Israel now, just waiting to detonate a dirty bomb or to carry out um, a massive insurgent is terror warfare in along the West Bank, in Israel. It'll destabilize the entire region. And the UAE is going to be dragged into it. Everybody in that region will be dragged into that conflict, and then obviously you've got the fringes on that conflict. You've got the Russians, the Chinese are bound to get involved because it's knocking on their doorstep. The Pakistanis, to a certain extent, will probably reach out to the Iranians and say, "Look, do you want a fucking hand?" And it's going to create a massive shitstorm. So it has to be done. It has to be done correctly and carefully. It's not. Iran aren't easily as bullied as North Korea. And what I mean by bully, I don't mean by we're going to nuke you to the ground, but I think what Donald Trump needs to do, and I think what he will do, is pick up the phone and engage some kind of communications with these fucking idiots in Iran and say, look, keep rattling those sabers. You know what I mean? I've got a carrier group sitting off in your international waters now, and all I have to do is give them the word, and you've got Tomahawk slamming into all your strategic, tactical, military positions and positions of strategic importance.
Oh hell
You know what I
yeah!
mean?
You noticed that
Look at
Salinas.
your Yeah, look at your fucking neighbours 10, 15 years ago, what we did to them fucking idiots. Yes, it's not going to be as cut and dry as Iraq because they do have air defences. They do have, again, a lot of Soviet kit. You know what I mean? Because the Soviets have been giving them kit. Um, I would dare say, because it'll be a proxy war, a sort of quasi proxy war, that you'll find out all of a sudden you've got non-Iranian advisors tipping up to fucking show them how to use different bits of kit,
What?
because that's just the nature of warfare now. We're not going to go to Russia and kick off with Russia. We're doing all our warfare ever since Afghanistan by proxy wars. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
You look at Syria, and the shitstorm that nearly caused when we were fucking J-damming the fuck out of positions and all killing Russian mercenaries. And I say Russian mercenaries in a loose sense. Of course, they
Right. We
weren't
know who they were.
mercenaries.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same as the SAS were given basically free reign. Look, it's like a fucking gap
Same
year.
with ODA.
Yeah, it's the same as a gap year that you do in college or university. You take a fucking year out to go and see the world. It's highly, well, not it's I won't say well known, but it's in certain circles it's well known that the SES was sent abroad to work as sort of official private military contractors, because it was good experience. Okay, we've got skin in the game, but it's not official skin in the game. But hey, we can lend you these people for a certain period of time, and they've got an enhanced effect, if you know what I mean. And how we do warfare now.
Oh yeah. Look at.
Uh, uh,
It even
uh,
goes back further than that. It goes back to executive outcomes.
yeah,
It goes back to. Oh,
Sandline,
yeah,
Sandline,
Sandline with Tim Spicer. And have
yeah,
you ever heard of another dude failing upwards? What was it? It was Armor Group, wasn't it? That he no, it wasn't. I just lied. It was Aegis that he founded.
yeah,
$400 million no bid contract after the epic failure of what was that? Papua New Guinea.
yeah,
Yeah, after that failure, and so the whole point, and that's another thing in the world. Me and you, I don't think we've really had this discussion. There's a show I really want to do on the difference between contractors and mercs, and
mm,
you know where they meet and where they don't meet, because there is some crossover. But the interesting thing is, you hear these people saying, "Oh, I've done this job, I've done this," and sometimes it's like, "Oh yeah, whatever, man." But like, I've heard it said one time, and the guy, I can't remember his name, or I'd give him credit, but he's like, he was like an SF dude and whatnot, and he's like, I've never been more scared in my life doing a single man mission job, which is probably a recce, right?
Yeah.
And I had a single man thing that was supposed to, well, you remember back when this was going on, and it ended up going tits sideways, but in Indonesia, from Singapore to Indonesia. And it was just an investigation. But because of the way that country is so paranoid, just like the jump off point, why am I mind dumping it again? Damn, I just said it. Indonesia, Singapore.
Yeah.
Singapore's paranoid, but they got cameras everywhere. If you're a bule in Singapore, which is a white guy, and you're walking around in Singapore, you will have people following you, literally following you. And they follow you wherever you go. And so it was an interesting thing, and you do start to get a little paranoid, and it is kind of unnerving. But that's the whole thing, man. It was for a specific job to see if something was up, and it was, and get to the bottom of it, and I did, and it was over. Well, the guy wanted to take it in a direction I was not going to go, but I ended it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's just reality. But yeah, man, that's an interesting thing, because a lot of people don't know you when you cross pollinate all that stuff. Just like, and I'll show you a prime example, Syria. You know, that's an Arab country. Persia, Iran, is Persian. They are not Arabs. And they will be the first to tell you they're not Arabs. They have Jews that live there, Zoroastrians, that's a religion they have there. And, of course, Muslims and
Christians.
But the non-Muslims have to pay the jizya. Well, these people are just as much Persian and Iranian, and there is a sense of patriotism for them and their country. And you saw what Jesus, because it's Persian, it's throwing me off.
Salami.
I think it's Sulami. Anyways, you saw him with all their little boats that they swarm the Navy with. He's pulled the guns off of them because he knows, and he's also keeping the hotheads off the boats because he knows all it's going to take is somebody to blow up something near a ship, i.e. the Cole kind of example, the USS Cole when that happened, and it's on like Donkey Kong. Nobody can predict what Trump will do. That's a fact. And the media likes to say this, that, and the other, but they're lying cunts, and we all know it. But yeah, man, I mean, that's a show we definitely need to do, especially on the cross-pollination, because I've worked with way better dudes than I am. You know what I'm saying, bro. I don't lie about anything I've done, but I've worked with a lot of good dudes, and I have respect from the dudes I worked with because, I haven't had that one problem yet. I haven't hesitated too long or froze too long. And but I've seen even experienced dudes freeze and for too long. It's not my business. They were working for their unit, handled that shit, not me. But it's just one of those funny things that you'll see on occasion, and it's rare. But with a regular squatty or a troop, you'll see it more often. And you know what I mean. It's the same thing with keeping your finger off the fucking trigger. Same shit.
Yeah. And it can have pros and cons to taking that second to take everything into perspective. I'd say those that seem to fly through the OODA loop can be seen as the more sort of experienced operator. Those that take the time within the OODA loop and spend a lot more time, and the decide factor of it, can often find that they've made the right decision rather than the experienced dude that just falls back onto muscle memory and go, "Ooh, the pound, I've made that decision," you know. And it's funny. There's a funny story. I won't mention his name because he was actually still working out there in Iraq. But a very good friend of mine was attached to U.S. forces up in Baghdad for a period of time. And while he was up there, he'd fucked up. And so his boss turned around and go, okay, right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put you on the main gate on one of the camps. Can't remember what camp it was. One of the main gate. Um, I think it was, I can't remember if it was a marine camp or a US Army camp. Basically, he was a machine gunner, so he was on the front gate, which was quite beneath him because of his role and his job. And I think that's all I'll mention about that. But he was on the main gate of one of these camps, and he was just up there with his machine gun, and this big white sort of fucking truck comes flying towards the checkpoint, and he sort of looks at the guys, the American guys with him, and you know what I mean. He's thinking they not notice that this guy's coming too fast for the bottleneck, like the chicanes, they're fucking weaving in and out the concrete fucking recon blocks. So straight away, he sort of like clocks onto it, bangs through his OODA loop. Think this guy is an IED because the guy that he was standing with, the specialist he was standing with, was sort of talking on the radio. You know what I mean? His mind wasn't fully with what was coming towards him. So my friend um, cocked his well, he had the GPMG, the 240 Bravo, and fucking just slammed a load of rounds through the cab of this vehicle. Um, and he's quite an experienced guy, you know, and he thought it was an IED, so he slammed a load of rounds through this vehicle. Vehicle comes to a rolling halt, hits his fucking recon, and then people sort of like switch on what he's just done. Um, Shit, it's the fucking fan. And he thinks, oh, I'm a hero. I've just fucking stopped this IED. What he'd done, he'd just brassed up the fucking laundry guy that was fucking late to drop the laundry off. And
Brilliant.
the vehicle had set on fire and burnt everybody's fucking clean laundry. So yeah, he wasn't the most fucking popular of guys. You know what I mean, on that camp, because everybody's clean laundry was on the back of this fucking vehicle. This poor Iraqi guy was coming to fucking drop off, but this dude had just fucking brassed him up. But that's what I mean. He flew through that OODA loop a lot quicker than some would. Think he's making that right decision, but obviously didn't make the right decision that day. And it is a tragedy, and I'm fucking laughing about it because it's a lot of years down the
It's
line.
it's 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 mortician's humor, my friend. You know
Yeah.
that's how you get through it. You laugh about the stupid shit.
Yeah, so it was. Is that the fucking? Every time he walked into their DFAC, it was like that's the fucking Brit. That Brit there is the reason that I'm standing in my fucking combat uniform, and it stinks of fucking arse and balls for the fucking second week running because that motherfucker burnt our laundry. You know what I mean? So yeah, he
Nice.
wasn't he wasn't the fucking the most popular guy, and I don't think he spent much longer in that camp because albeit he was a fucking really good operator. I think there was just too many people out for his blood. Um, but like you said, going through that OODA loop, you can fly through it, or you can take your time with it, and no matter who it is, that right decision is going to be sort of like judged many years down the line by people not qualified and certainly shouldn't have an opinion on the matters that are carried out by our armed forces. You know.
Well,
Um,
speaking of your incident, I have a hilarious incident. The guys are on my page. Everybody I'm about to speak of, I'm just going to use first names. But you could figure it out. Anyways, a bro of mine, and we had been getting, we were training Iraqi police at this time. This would have been '05. And we'd been getting, our sit reps that, Iraqi police trucks had been stolen, they're by the insurgents, and, where we were at up in Al Qut, um, it's 40 kilometers from Iran. And so everybody, we're doing other things, but training Iraqi police are our major mission. And so we were out there collecting them up for the classroom, to take them in. And all of a sudden, this Iraqi police vehicle comes flying. Now, this guy lives in America now. Great guy. By the way, I hope nobody thought that I was slamming Big Sarge show earlier. I wasn't. I was just saying that's a really hard format to go in depth on things, just to close that bit out. Big Sarge show, please listen to it on Redcon 1. That being said, it's flying, man. And me and Will, that's all I'll say first name, we're out there in the front, right where we have our little, what do you call them, the serpentine to go through, the block serpentine.
At the chicane.
Yep. And both of us, I hear him on my left clicking off the safety at the same time I'm doing it. I mean, it's just, and we're up on the shoulders, ready to hit. And motherfuck if he doesn't stop. And he was flying, man. We both looked at, we had these little cones we'd sit out, and that was, if they went that far, we were going to empty. And he stopped right before he got to the cones, and he gets out, and it's Hyder. And I'm like, what the fuck, Hyder? Hyder was like the commandant of the police training for the Iraqis. And, all right, there we go. Is that better? No
That's
longer
better,
close?
bro.
Cool. So Hyder is just like, what the hell are you guys doing? And we're like, well, we were about to shoot your dumb ass. He goes, why? I said, because your ass was flying up here and you saw us standing here. He's like, well, I would have shot back, and pulls out his Glock. You know, he's a funny guy. I've worked with him so much. It was just funny like that. And he spoke fucking English like you and I. More like me, not like you, but yeah. He actually sounds like a mafia don when you talk to him. But more Italian than anything. But anywho, the point being is that we just laughed and said, well, that Glock isn't going to work with, what we are carrying. And he just starts laughing. But that was a thing where it could have been a blue on green. And, it would have, but we clicked off on the safeties. I mean, whenever I've clicked off on the safety and never had to fire, that's been a good day. The only other time I ever had something like that, this is actually during the Gulf War, and it was it was the stupidest shit that I've ever experienced. I'll go through this real quick so you can see how stupid shit can get. As an MP, we had to go to a Fleet Hospital, whatever it was, 15 or 5 or some shit. And it was in Al Jabal, Ras Al Jabal in the Kingdom. So we go there to, I can't remember, we had to take a report on something stupid. And they were going to get their captain and stuff. And Commandant of the Marine Corps, CMC, gives us all special permission to carry our guns everywhere, even in places where guns are not to be loaded. We're always to be armed and loaded. And so the security guard, he's a sergeant. He sends off, or the staff sergeant who was in charge went to go get the captain. And the sergeant goes, well, you guys are going to have to clear your guns in the clearing barrel. We're like, no, sorry, we don't have to. Sorry about that, sergeant, but it's not going to happen. And he's like, I said, clear your guns, just like that. And we're like, okay, now, sergeant, you misunderstand. This is our badge, our armband. You're wrong on this, and we're just going to talk to the captain to clear this thing up. That's all that has to happen. And we're not moving into the fucking hospital. We're in their little guard shack. And all of a sudden, he's like, men lock and load. And, dude, they point their fucking ARs at us, and they got us in an L. And me and my one bro, we were back to back and drew our pistols. At that point, and both of us clicked safeties at the same time. At that point, the captain comes in. What the fuck is going on here? And we're like, your NCO just told the 2 PFCs, that was his guard force, to lock and load and draw on us because we didn't unload our weapons. And he goes, you fucking morons, they can carry their guns loaded anytime. And he goes, sergeant goes, no, we didn't lock and load. There's nothing. And he goes, okay. He goes, men, take your magazines out. The men take their magazines out. He says, rack your uh, uh, bolt to the rear. Both of them, their bullets go flinging out, of the chamber. And that was almost a blue or a green on green fucking shooting. And our gunny got there like probably a half hour later. We had to fill reports out. That sergeant ended up getting deuced on that one. But yeah, that was, that's some fucking weird shit that you run into with people. Ego gets involved, and here we were just trying to explain calmly, and he tells his boys, lock and load on him. What the fuck are you talking about? So yeah, see that? I mean, comedy goes in all areas, and sometimes it's scary
Yeah.
as fuck.
No, they say it's times like that when it's sort of like it's those egos that create fucking problems. We had it out in Afghanistan, up near Musa Kala. We had a US vehicle fucking swing his 50 cal onto us. Now consider I was in a vehicle that's got a 50 cal, two 240 Bravos up front, two 240 Bravos at the rear, and there's fucking 12 of me. You know what I
Right,
mean? 12
right.
of my vehicles, and there's like one Humvee points his weapon at us, and we're like, we're clearly not fucking A&A. We're clearly not fucking Iraqi police. Sorry, Afghan police, AMP. And we're clearly not fucking civilians. We're in British Army vehicles. One of our fucking vehicles has got a Union flag flying from it.
Right.
Adjust your fucking attitude. Obviously, I pulled up to the next vehicle up with, which was obviously the command vehicle at this. And I jumped out. Obviously, at the time, I had my Glock with me, just tapped on the side of the fucking window. Obviously, they don't wide the window down though because they're in armored Humvee. His fucking door opens up and say, "You want to readjust that motherfucker behind you?" Because he's pointing a 50 caliber machine gun at a lot more fucking machine guns pointing back at him. And it's sort of, I think at the point he was sort of like doing it to say like, remember the old sort of like stay back 100 meters rule from Iraq. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, 300
Yeah,
meters, brother.
yeah. Well, obviously that's good for fucking civilian vehicles like Toyota Hiaces or fucking little Toyota fucking things. But when you've got a fleet of fucking weapons platforms driving towards you, you can pretty much take it on board that they aren't fucking enemy forces. And even if they were enemy forces, you aren't going to win that fucking fight. There's three Humvees and 12 of my vehicles. And he just, let's say, swung the fucking 50 cal and started like fucking screaming at us, like, stop, fucking stop, or we'll be forced to fucking take on. It's like, what are you doing? You're sitting outside my camp, you fucking retard. You know,
Right.
um, uh, so again, it wasn't very funny at the time, but then obviously later on that day, it was sort of like these guys came into our camp, and their sort of commander, I think he was a captain, came up to me and just said, "Look, sorry for this fucktard's behaviour earlier on." I was like, "Not a fucking issue," but it nearly became an issue when you point your M2 at my call signs. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, I completely get it, man. I mean, that's just like the whole. I've still got a beach towel. I never used it. I just kept it. I bought it. It was the beach towel they made. It was a direct copy of the placard that used to hang on the back of your vehicles in English and Arabic. Stay back 300 meters, or you will be shot.
Yeah,
I still have that towel. I've never used it. It's in a box somewhere, but it was just a keepsake. You know, you grab stupid shit. But if you're in traffic in Kabul, going down Jabad Road, I'm sure you know where that is. Jalalabad Road.
yeah,
If you're heading down to in Baghdad traffic or Mosul traffic, that 300 meters is now maybe 3 feet because of the traffic. And somebody like him, who you just described, can be an epic issue if you don't have men that can keep their fingers, even though the thumbs are resting on the 50s, if they can't keep their fingers still and don't accidentally depress that butterfly. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. It comes. I get like you said, it comes down to ego. It's that. I'll point this fucking HMG at somebody else, and my ego will win out. Well, not today, my friend. It's fucking. I've got a lot more fucking weapon systems than you've got, and that's fucking. That doesn't happen very often, especially with the US military. But in this case, these guys were fucking severely outgunned, and I think he knew it when he points his weapon system at me, and he thinks that we're just going to brush it off. And all of a sudden, he's got, let's say, 12 heavy weapons, both the 40 mil grenade launchers and them twos pointing at him, and then he's got about 20 fucking M40 Bravos pointing at him, and that's not including the fucking Glocks that the drivers were pointing at him, and it was like, fuck. I suggest you fucking turn your turret that way, my friend.
I
Tap
did.
tap tap. You want to speak to that fucking ass clown back there and sort yourself out, because he's going to create fucking problems for you.
You know, the
Yeah.
40 mil takes a while to arm as it comes out.
Yeah.
The funniest shit I ever saw, and it just happened to be because I was looking in that direction, because you know how they would have like Hummers and shit in different roads and places.
Yeah.
And there was like some weird, you know how the Iraqis and the Afghanis, well, Middle Easterns in general will bunch up, and all of a sudden it'll be a spontaneous protest, and then they get all egomaniac. I don't know whatever happened to this cat, but watching it, it was hilarious. This, you know how skinny those people are, right? And this is in Iraq. This dude jumps up on the hood of the Hummer, right? Dude's got his 50 and blip, or not 50, but his 240 and blip, and dude fucking falls to the ground, and I was like, that wasn't smart at all. But then I started thinking, as we're driving on, because we were just, like I said, a brief instant caught my eye, and I'm like, what the fuck was that? Because, you know, when a 40 fires, there's some recoil to it, you know, when it's mounted on that. It looks funny. I can't describe it, but you know when it's fired.
Yeah.
And it's got a distinct sound, that bloop. Anyways, yep. And bloop. And so I see dude fly backwards off the goddamn hood. And I'm like, oh, wow, man, he shot that dude almost point. Wait, no wonder he didn't blow up, because it didn't arm. And then I'm like, oh shit, that dude's now ordnance. when they come get him, they're gonna have to have EOD come with them. All right, well, I think we've discussed the shit out of some silly shit and had a good time.
Yeah.
And we will close. And with that, you got any last things? Oh, I will say this: some dude asked if there was if you had your own YouTube channel. I told him no. You know,
No.
And that was one of the questions. So you got a fan base, brother.
I was contemplating it, but I just honestly, I don't have the time at the minute
Right.
to get that done. There's a lot of sort of, as you know, there's sort of some professional transitioning going on at the minute, so I just don't have time for that sort of like dedication. But I'm always ready to come on your show on Chuff's Big Orange Couch. As long as there's a place for me, I'll always be there to take a seat, grab a drink, and shoot the shit, brother. You know. So, but whoever it was, thank you. My regards. As long as people want me here, I'll always be here to give my 10 pence worth of my fucking ill-informed, limey opinion on matters that have no pertaining to me since 1776. Yeah, but all I'll say on that matter is just remember that there were British soldiers fighting British soldiers with the help of French and fucking Spanish. But we'll leave that argument for a fucking another day when we're suitably lubricated with adult libations. That's a battle for another day.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. A lot of people, when I tell them, Washington was born in England. A matter of fact, his house is, if memory serves, his house is like a museum for him or something, right? The Washington home.
Yeah,
it's in London,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. He's still got certain sort of like messes in like offices messes and stuff like that. There's still sort of pictures of Washington, because again, like a lot of people don't know, he was still actually a member of the British Army when he was fighting against the British.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was still a number carrying member of the British Army.
Yeah, because he actually fought for the British during the French and Indian War.
Yeah.
I mean,
that saved a British soldier.
Yeah.
And then he just plied his trade for the rebellion. You know what I mean? Whether you think it was right or wrong.
Or nasty mutiny against the crown.
Yeah, you're filthy mutiny, you bunch of traitorous fucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's all good. It's all good. The love's still there, brother. The love's still there.
You know, that's the funniest thing. Every war we've gotten into or you've gotten into, guess who's been there?
Yeah, the
You
love's
know,
still there.
even the Falklands, we gave aid in a circulus route, but you know what happened there. But
Yeah,
and Argentine still is pissed off that
yeah,
they thought we would come to their aid. Well,
unlucky.
don't think that'll happen. All
But
right,
brother, it's
mate.
been a pleasure, and we'll speak soon.
Yes, definitely. God bless. Be well. Be safe, brother. Head up, gun down. With that being said, thanks for stopping by Kaiser's Castle, taking a seat on my big orange couch, having your adult libation, your soda, your coffee, or your tea. It's been a pleasure to have you guys on again. Shuff out.